This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, Goldberg not happy with how he went out at Saturday night's main event? Pat McAfee opens up about taking a break from WWE. And is AJ Styles heading back to TNA? Seth Rollins got hurt. Naomi cashed in. Roman's back. We're getting monster pushes for different guys, and we've got crazy SummerSlam stipulations. We've got all of that to break down with WWE, as well as we had a pay-per-view for AEW. AEW's All in Texas. We've got to break down all of that. I think we have some very happy results coming out of that. Helping me break it all down, sort it all out. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Cuz, what's going on with this generation? Pat McAfee can't handle 14 jobs? What's going on? I mean, he's a radio host. He does intros for Major League Baseball. He can't just sit there and watch wrestling and have Triple H yell in his ear, what's going on? My God, this generation is so lazy. Granted, he makes $18 million a year on a radio show. He can't take the extra couple $1 million to take a couple bumps and travel around the world in his private jet. My God, Pat McAfee. The crazy part was that it was weird in that he's kind of now in that world where people really liked him, but now people were starting to hate on him at commentary. And it was just one of those deals where you look at Pat McAfee, and I just thought he was always an asset to the company. And look, it's one of those things where, no, in all seriousness, man, the guy was grinding, and I was shocked he even lasted that long doing it. But man, the world of wrestling goes on, and cuz it was great. It was great watching All In. I thought that the one thing that you can always guarantee is that, yeah, sometimes the builds for AEW may not be the best, but when the wrestlers decide, all right, let's go out there and showcase what we're about, it's one of the best pay-per-view delivered from AEW in a long time.
Yeah, their All-In show is generally one of their best shows. Obviously, one of their biggest shows that they put on every year. This is the third year now that they're going to have it. Next year it's going back to Wembley. We've got a date for that we'll give you a little bit later on in the show. But AEW, this is the one thing you can say about them. They always kick butt with their pay-per-views. It can sometimes be hard to get to the pay-per-view with the regular weekly programming. But when you get to the pay-per-view, there's usually a fantastic payoff, and you usually incredibly happy. Now, with AEW running their pay-per-view, WWE ran a lot of counter programming. And from that counter programming, we've seen a lot of things and a lot of stuff that we've got to get to and a lot of stuff that we've got to kind of break down and sort out because it has lasting impacts on our build to SummerSlam. I think the biggest thing coming out of this weekend from WWE, Seth Rollins gets hurt at Saturday night's main event. I want to know what your gut's telling you because there's been a lot of different reports. And watching it happen, we were all texting in our group chat. And initially, I thought it was really, really bad. I think maybe you and Kenny were on the other side, like maybe not so bad. He should be okay. We'll kind of wait and see. I know your big thing was great. Now you can really push Braun Breaker. Looking at everybody who's really, really connected to different people in WWE and backstage, a lot of differing reports were coming out. You look at the Dave Meltzers, the Brian Alvarez's, the John Pollocks of the world. They started to kind of put stuff together, and by taking bits and pieces from everybody, we didn't really have, I think, a full scope of what might be going on, and we probably still don't have a full scope of what might be going on. But this could all be a gigantic work, and that's kind of where I'm leaning. When you kind of read through some of the reports, and I'll give you some of it here, okay? Let's see. So Rollins was on the Rich Eisen show and provided an update on the status. He said, Monday I was in Birmingham, Alabama, where our specialists are at. We tried to take a look at the knee through some imaging. It was a little too swollen, so we're going to take another look, hopefully in a week or two in LA, and try to get some sort of film or firm diagnosis, and then we can go from there. I'm not a doctor. I only know my body and what I feel. And what I feel is that this is going to be me out for an extended period of time. It's a bummer, but look, it is what it is. Our business moves on. And this isn't the first time that I've been injured. Won't be the last time. I always got WrestleMania in the back of my mind. Can I make it back for WrestleMania season, for the whole thing? My brain always goes there, and I feel good about that. But beyond just a firm timeline, I won't know until we get a better answer on an MRI. Here's the deal: if you know anything about an MRI can get through swelling. It's not difficult for an MRI to get that imaging.
Right.
So that to me feels like he's talking to people who are a little bit uneducated. Before that, you had Brian Alvarez and you had Dave Meltzer essentially speculating that this was a work. Meltzer was in the camp of this could be serious, but this could also be something else going on where they're planning on him cashing in at SummerSlam. It's going to be one of those things where they're going to sell you. He's going to be out for 9 months, but he's going to show up miraculously at SummerSlam. Brian Alvarez was in the camp of John Pollock days before this took place had a report. John Pollock's incredibly well connected. If you don't know who John Pollock is, John Pollock used to have his own wrestling show. It was fantastic. I don't know whatever happened to it. He's now writes for, I think it's PW Insider, or he runs his own thing, but he's incredibly well connected and knows a lot of people. He's in the camp of 2 days before Saturday night's main event. John Pollock said that somebody backstage had told him that Seth Rollins was going to get hurt, that this was all going to be a giant elaborate ruse to get Seth Rollins to SummerSlam. And Brian Alvarez is like, yeah, it looked bad, but I feel like it's more this. And then Brian Alvarez, being a detective, starts kind of lining different bits and pieces of all of this up, which now, in my opinion, does look like this is going to be a setup for him cashing in at SummerSlam. I don't necessarily believe he is hurt. Initially, I thought it was bad, but I no longer feel that way, especially with seeing how Paul Heyman reacted on Monday Night Raw, where he would not give a definitive timeline. There was nothing there that really led. He just kind of sidestepped the entire question. Paul Heyman also did another interview where he basically talked about how too many dirt sheet writers know too many people. So if we've got to work the entire system, we'll work the entire system. You start kind of layering all this stuff on top of each other. To me, it really does feel like Seth Rollins is not hurt. This was a way to write him off screen for a little bit. He's probably going to get a little bit of work done to a minor injury that he's dealing with, probably scope his knee a little bit, clean it up. But he will be back for SummerSlam, and he will be cashing in his Money in the Bank there. What are your thoughts on where Seth Rollins is at? And do you subscribe to what is now my theory that he was written out of TV. This was all a giant elaborate ruse to kind of get him to SummerSlam and allow him a little bit of time to get some minor work done to a banged up injury that he's dealing with. But he will be back for SummerSlam, and this was the ability to write him off television.
Yeah, no, I thought it was real until he went on the Rich Eisen show, because NFL athletes know if they tore their ACL the next day. Sometimes the same game, you can find information out pretty quickly. So I don't think you wait 2 weeks to find out the diagnosis on your knee. It might be something different in regards to the treatment, or they already know what it is, and they're looking at surgery versus rehab if it's an MCL. But you're absolutely right. And what adds layers to this is that there's a new show coming out on Netflix called Unreal. Seth Rollins cashing in at SummerSlam sounds like a great season 2 finale, where the number one thing now that they're selling is, can we work our audience? You have season 1 that's going to revolve around turning John Cena heel. You're going to learn a lot of insights into, and remember too, Triple H did say it at some point. I'm not sure if it was post pay-per-view or it was on a trailer. He's like, no, they don't work us, we work them, in regards to the nature of the business. And so, look, you just hope for the best for Seth Rollins. It was a little bit herky-jerky to have LA Knight win. It was elaborate, but we'll see what happens. It could be one of those deals where It ended up being he got hurt, but it's nothing serious, and they just said, let's just make it part of a story. And it could be a 2-week injury. He's like, you know what? Let's just go with it and elevate a couple other guys because I'm happy, like you said, seeing Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed get elevated, and Paul Heyman talking them up will be great. So we'll see. We'll eventually find out, but it definitely has the internet world buzzing. What happened to Seth Rollins?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of speculation, a lot of people talking. The one thing I think that WWE now plays a bit of a dangerous game. If you do go back to that main event of Saturday night's main event, that was supposed to be Goldberg's send off, and we already talked about it being a really bad build for his retirement match. He was supposed to get a little bit of time at the end of that match, where he was supposed to be able to cut a promo and thank everybody. If you kind of listen to the reports that came out that night, it sounds like everybody was spinning, and it kind of sent the last little bit of that show into chaos. I could see Triple H working his entire staff with this bit with Seth Rollins so they could do this thing for SummerSlam, building towards the bigger show. But all that being said, if this is the case, you totally shit on a WWE Hall of Famer. You totally shit on a WCW legend, and that might be where kind of the rub is there. He's a WCW legend, not a WWE legend. And you really took away from what was the original plan, or what was the told original plan for Bill Goldberg's retirement match, and you did not do him the solid of giving him any time to cut his speech that he was promised. Instead, he ended up getting 30 seconds to close out the show. What are your thoughts on really upsetting a lot of the people in the back by doing this Seth Rollins angle and kind of shitting on Bill Goldberg in the process?
If it's a work, yeah, then it would piss off. Maybe that's why he went on Ariel Helwani, and he knows it's a work, and he's like, "Damn, they did that and caused the end of my match to be cut off." But look, in the end, for Bill Goldberg, it's also probably a work for him too. Express your frustration. You're the talk of the internet. Everyone's talking about you, crapping on WWE, saying, "Oh, look at the match." People are still talking about him. So in the end, look, WWE did him a solid. It was a good 15-minute match. Credit to Gunther for getting that out of him. Look, it is what it was. He's 58 years old, looking for relevancy. Everybody's finds ways to do it, and he's a professional wrestler. So I don't believe. Look, the air of truth in what he said. Look, I don't think that I truly believe he went to Triple H and said, "Look, this is what I'm going to do afterwards. I'm going to go on this interview and I'm going to say these things. Thank you for the opportunity," because there's still a bridge there for his son. His son seems like there's a chance that he could be there. So I just think that it was just one thing where Triple H is like, "Yeah, I know, dude. It was herky-jerky. Sorry. It's the network. They have to cut us off. We don't have control of it. There's commercials, and they aired it all on YouTube, all on social media. People are going to see it." Cody Rhodes came out. So it wasn't like he wasn't standing there in the ring and talking. It's just, okay, if they air it, if they don't, someone's going to see it. So I just think that Goldberg, the one thing you said that was probably accurate was he could have been used on TV a lot more. I thought that fighting Gunther was great for him. Him saying, "What other angle would you have wanted him in?" Nobody else probably wanted to work with him. In order to, he's like, "Well, I've had world title matches. What did you want to do? Did you want to join Seth Rollins' group? Like, what the heck did you want to be part of?" I thought it was a great send off all the way around. Nothing's perfect. Accept it. You got your TV time. You look pretty sweet. You had Ernest the Cat Miller. You had Josh Barnett. You had Dylan there knocking on the door. You did everything that reminded people of what's going on national television. So
Yeah.
I don't take too much stock in what Goldberg said. Look, in the end, he's way at the bottom of the relevancy poll, and he's just trying to work his way back. And Ariel Helwani gave him a platform. He made some noise, and he can still keep his name in the mind of wrestling fans.
Yeah, and look, so Doc says everybody's getting work. Will Goldberg's a part of it, and I could definitely see that being the case. If it turns out to be something else, that will really have been something shitty to do to Bill Goldberg.
Yeah.
Again, Triple H, Bill Goldberg, not necessarily the best of friends.
Don't you look at it like this? I know they did Sting that way, but look, in the end, they cut you a check, they gave you TV time, they put you on a main event of a show. So in the end, nothing is perfect. Like the world doesn't work where the match goes off perfectly. You get all the time you want. You get to stand in the ring for 25 minutes. You get the world. It's like, come on, dude. It's like this is a 2-hour show with a lot of commercials. So just take what you can get. The mere fact that they gave you anything, they gave you a chance to include your son. They did as much as humanly possible. It's not going to be this thing that's going to be wrapped up in a bow. It's chaotic. It's live television. And Triple H, it would kind of lend that he's okay with some loose strings. Like he's okay with it because he's one of the guys. Like remember, Triple H is a wrestler. Vince McMahon was a citizen. There's a difference between how buttoned up one person wants it, where one of the boys is like, we messed it up, loose string here, no problem. Let's keep it moving. Let's have fun. So it's a different vibe. They don't care. Like if they would have cut off the whole speech, Triple H would have been like, we messed it up, and he just keeps it moving. And that's the mindset of WWE. It's a fast train. Enjoy the parts that you're on, but if you get kicked off, that's the way it is. And I understand that mindset of it too, because nothing's perfect. You cannot literally control everything because you're going to end up neurotic. And I don't think Triple H wants to be neurotic. He just wants to have, okay, did we get the big picture done? Okay, and then we can work to fine-tune all the little shit that we fuck up.
Yeah, you're probably right. If you start really kind of drilling down on every little thing, there's so much you can pick apart. And I think you're right. It's what does this mean to the overall story? What is the bigger picture? And I think that's probably what Triple H is more concerned with, the little things he can't get bogged down with because there's just too much going on.
Too much.
And with too much going on, you ran 3 different shows that weekend, and one of those shows was Evolution. And on that show, you had a belt change hands. Naomi cashes in on Rhea and Io to become your new WWE Women's Champion. When she goes to cash in, smashes Io in the head with the briefcase. She then gets in the ring and she basically lawn darted Rhea into the post, pins Io, and she's now your new women's WWE champion. What are your thoughts on Naomi cashing in at this moment and her now being your new champ? This was something I didn't expect to happen. I really thought this would be something more centered around probably SummerSlam. I thought the Rhea Io match up until the point was absolutely fantastic. Adding Naomi in, I'm not going to say it made it worse because it definitely didn't, but I just wasn't expecting it. And her now being your champion, good on her. She deserves a run in WWE. She did a lot of fantastic things in TNA. Her coming out, cutting her promo on Monday night was a little bit off-putting as she tried to get into fights with people in the crowd. But it is what it is. It's her character, I guess. But she's now your new champ, and I hope she has a really, really good run.
Yeah, it made noise. First and foremost, the NXT show wasn't that great. I just felt like that one hurt the most. That one got the lowest approval rating on a lot of Twitter polls. It stunk because of the fact that there was some good wrestling on it, but Ethan Page and Ricky Saints did their best to put things over.
Probably the best match on that card.
Exactly. But the rest seemed a lot irrelevant and things to let go of. But it was a show just to get some attention. So I'm very fascinated to see how NXT continues to progress as Joe Hendry and Mike Santana, I think, are at the top of the card. And then you get a lot of young rising stars that are going to be in the future. Pay attention to NXT. It's doing some good things. But I think the WWE needed some noise. They made some noise, but they ended up doing it with the women. And Evolution was great. Many people loved it. It was a feature that I do think now, in the end, I would have, prior to the weekend, said to you, cuz the women don't need their own stuff. They're featured. They're on a lot of shows. They've been main eventing. People talk about them. Natalia is now featured on a big radio show. She gets her own hour on Thursdays in the 24-hour Sirius channel. So what I want to say is I think that Evolution should be a yearly event. It's great. You get to highlight it. It can be something you can build off angles, and I don't care. I think that the women deserve their own spotlight, and it's not one of those things where you say, well, they differentiate. You just get them more time. Every opportunity that you have, it can be the women's WrestleMania. You can debut new women. You can have, like, it's the one thing, like, I think when you have, like, I always look at it, like, motivationally from the psychological side. And if you guys forget, the DOC is a psychologist. you dangle that carrot. Like, you think about a Blake Monroe, you think about a lot of the NXT ladies, the Sol Rokas of the world. You dangle that carrot like one day I can main event Evolution too. And look, Rhea looked great, Io Sky looked great. They got all the attention. I just think that for one night or for one weekend, having just the focus on women, it's not a bad thing to get just the attention on you. And I do remove it. I don't go, these are great women wrestlers. I just say these are great wrestlers. But what you need is time and attention and spotlight. So give it to them. I think Stephanie should fight for it. And Triple H is like, looking at the inclusion part, like we include the ladies. But when you have a show, you can include more of them. You can have battle royals, you can have veterans, you can tell stories, you can do it in one night, what maybe takes a month of programming. You can tell a lot of stories, interviews, you can just do so much. So, being now you're a girl dad, I'm a girl dad, I think women's only events should not be viewed as, it's just not equal to men. It's just more time. And in wrestling, time and attention and focus, they did enough to generate buzz off of Naomi winning, and I think that helped her character. We said this a year ago. It was like, man, she came back and she's already jobbing at people and doing things. And it's like, why the hell would she give up TNA? Because she knew she was going to get the rocket ship. That's why she came back. And this is great for her. It's great for everybody. So I'm hoping Evolution comes back. If it's not every year, at least every couple years.
Yeah, when she did come back, it was one of those things that was pretty off-putting. Like, she had a nice pop, and it was like 2 weeks where they gave her a little bit of a run, and then we didn't really do a lot with her. We put her back up on the shelf, and we're like, we'll get you when we get you. And they finally got back to her, and here it is. So hopefully it is a nice run. We'll see what takes place. I do think the big thing coming out of Monday Night Raw now, so we get through the weekend, which had a ton of wrestling, maybe too much wrestling. We now get to Monday Night Raw, and if you hung around to the very end of Monday Night Raw, you got to see Roman Reigns return. Woo! We talked about it a couple weeks ago. He's going to be involved in the build to SummerSlam. We don't know what he's doing, but he's coming back. And he finally comes back. He comes back out, helps Jey Uso, and kind of CM Punk against Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker was making his way through the gauntlet match to see who's going to challenge Gunther at SummerSlam. CM Punk is his final competitor. Jey Uso ended up getting outed just before CM Punk came out as the fifth combatant. CM Punk ends up winning the match, but Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed end up taking it out on CM Punk at the end. Jey Uso comes out to help him fend those guys off. Those guys are beating both of them down, only to have the return of the OTC number one,
Woo!
The original tribal chief. So he comes out and he kind of wrecks shop, and he does it to help Jay, like I said. Him and CM Punk, not quite on the same page. Remember, last time Roman Reigns was in the ring wrestling a match, it was against CM Punk and Seth Rollins. So a little bit of hard feelings there. Going to be interesting to see where we go with Roman Reigns. What do you want to happen with Roman Reigns now that he's back? Obviously, the chance to make two bigger stars. You talked about it in our group chat. We talked a little bit about it here. You're a big Braun Breaker guy. You want to see Braun Breaker get a massive push. Bronson Reed's a guy who, since he's come back into WWE, I feel has been completely underutilized. And this was a guy that Triple H was huge on. This is a guy who delivered 7 tsunamis to Seth Rollins, and then we never really had the follow-up. Next thing you know, he's in Seth Rollins' group, and we're trying to piece all that together. Roman comes back. Could you see Roman going up against one of these two guys and giving them a bit of a rub? Or do you maybe see a different story? Do you want to see a different story come out of Roman's return to WWE?
Yeah, no, it's great, man. It's great to see Roman always in great shape. The pop was amazing. People definitely were aware that that's a spot that he could come back. And look, man, it's great. Yeah, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, a program with that. It's going to be great. Look, in the end, I do think maybe something with Jey Uso could be, something worthwhile as well along the lines. Maybe not at SummerSlam, but I do think that there's a revisiting of the bloodline that you want to kind of piece together, maybe even conclude, where you just have the continued rub that Roman Reigns can give Jey Uso and Jimmy and all those guys. Maybe you just bring back the crew, the entire original crew, of the bloodline, and you see what happens. But the crazy part is you always just left wondering, man, like you don't have to see Roman Reigns wrestle, but man, he should just be on the shows. He should just be a presence, man. He's a figure. And I know the travel and his situation with his health, he wants to be, making sure it's insured, and he's now taken the road of, hey, if I can get a lot of time off, why not enjoy it? But when you see him, he just belongs in the ring. Like he's a mega star, even when he takes months off. So can't wait to see what they decide to do with him. But whatever it's going to be huge. And eventually you're going to button up stuff with probably John Cena, with maybe even CM Punk. You just want to see big things with Roman Reigns. Even one maybe a little look at Gunther as well down the road at the second half of the year. So much good stuff that will take place. But you just need Roman around, and that's what it was good to see.
Yeah, I feel like he is such a draw. Just his presence alone. It is crazy to go back 5 years ago and everybody just being mad that he was being crammed down everybody's throats to where he's at now. When this dude comes out, he sells merch. He's the biggest pop in the arena that night, and he is now the guy. That's the one thing that you can always say about Vince. Vince had an eye for talent. Vince donned John Cena to be the guy. As much as everybody didn't want it to be Roman is the guy. Hulk Hogan, as much of a piece of shit as Hulk Hogan might be in real life, he is and was the guy. So it's one of those things. Vince always had a spectacular eye for talent and could diagnose talent, and Roman is the guy. Really curious to kind of see how this all plays out and which direction we go towards for SummerSlam. Sticking with the bloodline, sticking with Jey Uso. His brother Jimmy got involved this week on SmackDown along with their cousin Jacob. It appears as though Jimmy and Jacob, and this might be where Roman ends up. Roman and Jay might end up here helping out Jacob and Jimmy as they are now getting involved with the Bloodline 2.0. Solo has all of the Tongans along with Jeff Cobb, or JC Mateo, as we're calling him nowadays, one of the worst names ever. But they are now involved with them. Jacob Fatu, the thing coming out of SmackDown and the thing coming out of reports this week was that he was going to get the super babyface push. He is now the good guy that they are building their shows around. You remember John Cena when John Cena was doing his his thug motivation and hustle, loyalty, respect. That's the push that Jacob Fatu is getting ready to be given. I want to get your thoughts. This guy is an incredible athlete. I was watching SmackDown last night, and I had a friend over who she does not watch wrestling very often. The only couple times she's watched wrestling is when she's been over the house, and she was watching with me. He was on screen, and she couldn't take her eyes off of him. She's like, is he related to the twins? And I was like, yeah. I was like, there's one of the twins right there. I was like, that's their cousin, Jacob. I was like, he is an absolute maniac. The guy is a complete freak show of an athlete. It's unreal to watch this guy get down. And she just couldn't pull her eyes away. And I was like, he's going to get a monster push. And this is just the beginning of it. What are your thoughts on Jacob Fatu getting the super babyface push, the John Cena-like babyface push? Not just a babyface push, not just a push, but the super babyface push. Is he a guy who can fit into that role? Because he does not have your typical babyface look. He looks a little rough around the edges. I mean, if we're being honest, if he didn't wash his face for the day, he could have looked like he rolled out of a cardboard box off of the corner of 8 Mile, and he got to the ring somehow, some way, possibly Ubered or maybe held the Uber up to get there, because he does sometimes look like he could be a little bit homeless with that scruffy beard. But this guy is supposed to now be your white meat baby face.
Yeah, no doubt. It factor, you want to see him. Giving him the rocket ship will produce a lot of money, a lot of great feuds. It's just one of those deals where we know it's going to happen at SummerSlam, and I'm all for it. I just think that he's going to deliver, and he just has the it factor. Fatu to the world, baby, to the moon.
Fatu to the moon. And the other big thing I think coming out of SmackDown was Look, I'm not sure where you were at for the Cody Rhodes John Cena contract signing for the little bit of a build. I wasn't really excited about it going in. I ended up sitting there captivated by it
Yep,
by the
yep,
end.
exactly.
And I was drawn in and I was like, this is fantastic. Sometimes predictability is not bad, right? As this was playing out, I started calling stuff out. And if it's done well and it's done right, it all makes sense. The one thing I didn't like about the contract signing for their SummerSlam match, I didn't want a street fight. I don't want to see a street fight. That was the one thing that was a bit of a downer for me. Like I get it, right? And I even told you in the group chat, I was like, yuccas. Like I'm just not excited to see a street fight with Cody Rhodes and John Cena. You could have pretty much given me just about any other type of match, and I probably would have been in on it. Now I think these two will go out there and I think it'll be fantastic, but I didn't want to see the street fight stipulation. What are your thoughts on these two guys having a street fight at SummerSlam? Would a different type of stipulation possibly have been better? Whether it be a steel cage match, whether it be a bull rope match, whether it be a dog collar match, whether it be um, I mean, I guess a no holds barred match is
Right,
essentially the same thing as a street fight,
right,
but it just you don't necessarily have guys walking down to the ring with a trash can and a kendo stick, but
right.
or a shopping cart. So I don't know, man. The street fight, I feel like you need to have a good long build of just stuff happening where you then resort to that. I don't feel like there's been a big enough. They've kept them too separated to
Yeah.
have that stipulation for SummerSlam for it to really work and resonate with me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it could have just been a no DQ match. Simple as that. You just needed a way for The Rock to be able to show up and cause some havoc. That's it. And all the wrestlers, it's going to be overbooked. We know that vibe based on WWE. There's going to be probably a lot of interference. Who's going to show up? Who's going to help who? What's going to happen? So we'll figure it out. Does Cody Rhodes take the money and become the guy? They're dropping subtle hints to make you think that with the glasses, with the watch that he was wearing. When they want you to believe it.
He used the belt. Actually, I was excited. I was like,
Yeah.
use the belt. Use the belt. Okay, he hit him with the belt.
Is it time now for Cody to turn heel? Is it that story in that was that the starting point where Cody turned heel, and he's been doing a lot more heel type stuff. So it's one of those things where they're kind of setting the carrot, and maybe they won't do it, but we'll see, because it could go either way. It's going to be who's going to be the focal point. And in the end, I do think that John Cena would benefit to hold the title all year until he loses it in his last match. So it'll be fun. I do think that they're slanting it a little bit more toward Cody. So I do think The Rock's going to come out and help Cody Rhodes. I do think The Rock's going to come out and help John Cena. And I think the next step is to add a member or get that person. And you know who that would be? That would be perfect. The guy that takes the money, Randy Orton. Randy Orton is big business. You set the feud of, hey, you've seen Randy with Cody, you've seen the guy, and they dropped the hint a long time ago, and they said
That could be their spinoff and their build for their match.
The Rock said, hey, there's been a lot of people calling me that are big names that want to join, and the guy that could join is like, hey, I'm Randy and I'm ready to go. I'm ready for the big time stuff, and that way you could tell, because remember, Cody said, we have 6 months ready to go with this feud. And you could tell that feud all the way to WrestleMania. So you could do a lot of different things with it. So we'll see how it goes on, but I'm not too concerned. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. But the big thing is whatever's delivered as the punchline, the closing thing, has to be big. And I don't know if turning Cody Rhodes heel at SummerSlam is what I want. I think that him getting screwed again for a title is always great for business. And Cody Rhodes kicking off a great long feud with Randy Orton with John Cena and The Rock in his corner. Money. I would go see a lot of that.
Yeah, it could be a fantastic build towards a WrestleMania program coming out of SummerSlam, which again, long term. We like long term builds. We like long term storytelling. That would definitely be it. I do see The Rock showing up at SummerSlam, being involved in this match some way, somehow. Travis Scott, not so much. The word on the street, Travis Scott is not learning as quickly as they would like and is not as invested as he should be. That's part of the reason why you're seeing Jelly Roll at SummerSlam with Randy Orton. Jelly Roll seemed to really have taken to learning wrestling inside the ropes. Has been really putting in the work and the practice. Apparently, he's been living at the Performance Center. Guys like Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. Who else? There were a couple other names that were mentioned that have been helping him kind of hone his craft and learn how to wrestle. Sounds like this is something he's been wanting to do for a very long time, but that is why you're getting that celebrity at SummerSlam instead of a guy like Travis Scott. All right, the other big event that took place this last weekend was All In Texas. All In will return to Wembley next year in London on Sunday, August 30th, 2026. Before this show started and really got revved up, we end up finding out Adam Cole is dealing with a health issue. He cuts nearly a 3-minute promo to the crowd that is incredibly emotional. He brings up retirement. He is stripped of the TNT championship, as he's going to be away for some time. It sounds like it might be some concussion-related issues. Going kind of back a couple of weeks, there was a match with him and Kyle Fletcher where Kyle Fletcher ends up kind of doing a power bomb onto the corner of the ring, and it kind of missed. Adam Cole kind of hits his head. In the match leading up to All In, there was a clothesline spot where Kyle Fletcher doesn't really get him in the chest, kind of gets him in the side of the jaw, and that might have been leading to the concussion that he sustained, or what might have aggravated some of those post concussion symptoms. It was one of those things where they had collision on Friday night. Adam Cole and Tony Khan had talked, and it sounded like he was fine. Saturday morning, it was a different story. Ends up talking to Tony Khan, is like, I just probably shouldn't go. And they both agreed. In the end, Adam Cole is now going to be put up on the shelf. I guess the big question is, and it's kind of the sad story of Adam Cole. This was a guy who probably at his peak was in ROH and was doing fantastic things, was part of the Bullet Club and then was out of the Bullet Club and was incredibly interesting. Ends up going to NXT, ends up forming the Undisputed Era, and is interesting. Does the whole thing with Pat McAfee. There was a point there where there was a Saudi show where the regular stars could not make it back to WWE. WWE had to call an audible and kind of did this weird impromptu, never followed up upon thing of an NXT takeover, and Adam Cole led that NXT takeover, and we thought maybe this was going to be his big break. Maybe he was going to get put on the main roster and this was going to be it. Vince McMahon did not see Adam Cole as a big-time performer because he's a little bit smaller in stature, didn't really think he would connect or resonate. Goes to AEW, and let's just be honest, the AEW run has not been fantastic. It's been okay at times. It really seemed like he was in line to get that championship and then have MJF chase him when they were a tag team. Obviously breaks his ankle and then has to have multiple surgeries in his way for a long time. Comes back as that devil character. And then he disappears again for a while and then comes back and reforms Paragon. And now he's going away again. To be honest with you, didn't even realize that he was the TNT champion, right? Like, I totally forgot. That's how little that belt has meant and how far it has fallen, especially with him holding it. I believe that belt was getting pulled off of him. I believe it was going to be Kyle Fletcher. It ends up changing the card around a little bit. We don't have that match, but Adam Cole just has not been the same guy for a very long time. Where do you think Adam Cole goes from here? Because I don't know if we'll ever get that vintage ROH Adam Cole. I don't ever know if we'll get that NXT Adam Cole. I don't know if we'll ever get that Adam Cole that was tagged with MJF when they were the Kangaroo Buddies. I don't know what Adam Cole does from here. I think he might actually be done.
Yeah, he should be done in ring. He should take his talents to become a manager or work his way in the back or do a lot of different things. But yeah, look, I don't want to see him. Look, it's just his third concussion, supposedly. So I just think that it's a violent run. It's a violent sport. And unfortunately, his body's not going to cooperate. It's tough to put any sort of rocket ship behind him because he's always injury prone. It stinks when people were excited for a match. It doesn't happen. It ruined our predictions. So, no, but in the end, you just hope that he can be healthy and have a long, sustained life with his family. In the ring, look, he made his bones. He got to the mountaintop. It's just one of those deals where now, unfortunately, your brain is more important than anything else in this world. So step aside, help the next generation, and just make sure that you're healthy. Because I think there's been this undercurrent in violence and what's been going on. There's been this undercurrent that something bad's going to happen in the ring again. And most likely it's going to happen in AEW. Like, they're pushing the limits. So I don't want to see that happen to Adam Cole. But if he gets back in the ring, that could be the guy that had something tragic happen to him right there in the ring.
Absolutely. So this is kind of a bit of a damper for the show, right? Like, this is how the show starts. So everybody's kind of deflated. The wind's kind of sucked out of the room. But the show must go on, as they say. We end up getting the Ops, Smojo, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Shibata taking on the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Gabe Kidd for the AEW Trios titles. The Ops end up retaining their belts. After the match, Samoa Joe gets taken out. So Samoa Joe is going to be sidelined for some time. And this was done so he can go now push and do the whole media tour for Twisted Metal Season 2. But this also played a factor and played a role in this storyline. Remember, we've got our main event between Hangman Page and Jon Moxley. This is one way to take out a powerful force that could play a role in that match later on. After that, we end up getting the Casino Gauntlet match. This, again, is to earn a shot at the AEW World Championship. MJF goes in as number one. He Ironmans it. He ends up winning the whole thing. He now has a shot at the AEW Championship, and he's already calling out Hangman Page. Did that on Dynamite on Wednesday. All right, so we mentioned that Adam Cole has his health issue. So that means one of our matches was kind of thrown into chaos. So instead of it being Kyle Fletcher versus Adam Cole, we now have Dustin Rhodes versus Daniel Garcia versus Kyle Fletcher versus Sammy Guevara for the vacant TNT Championship. Remember, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara are ROH tag team champs. In the end, Dustin Rhodes gets the win. He won the title. He's age 56. This is his first time holding the belt. I believe it was 6 years since his brother, Cody Rhodes, held that belt. So kind of symbiotic. It was a really cool moment. Dustin is now your champ. From there, we then move on to Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay taking on the Young Bucks. This was an absolutely bonkers match. Swerve and Will end up beating the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are now stripped of their EVP roles. We're going to talk about what that looked like on Dynamite here in a few moments. This match was absolutely bonkers, bro. It was high spot, high spot, high spot, high spot, no sell, high spot, high spot, high spot, no sell, high spot, high spot, high spot, no sell. They showed a clip of one of the most frantic moments on Dynamite, where you basically had all four guys just exchanging move after move after move after move. I thought this was one of the best matches of the night. I thought this match was absolutely incredible. What did you think of the Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay versus Young Bucks match? I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Hands down, 8 stars. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was bonkers, man. There was a spot that they featured that just had frenetic action. It was being talked about as best tag team match of the year, best maybe this decade. So it was worth it, and it definitely highlighted what we wanted to see was the EVP status has been taken away from the Young Bucks. It was a great match all the way around. Loved it. Nothing to complain about. Spot Fest, it delivered what everybody wanted, and my goodness, these guys went after it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fantastic match. And I thought it was well placed, right in the middle of the card. You know, you just come off a very emotional moment where Dustin wins a championship. You then come back and you ramp up the energy again. What follows this is the Casino Gauntlet match for the women for a shot at the AEW World Championship. somebody who I don't think either one of us had pegged. Athena ends up winning it. She will now challenge Toni Storm. I think this is good for Athena. Kudos to her. She's doing a fantastic job as the ROH Women's Champ. So this is a big deal for her. This could get her back onto Dynamite, where I've kind of always felt like she's belonged. I feel like this will be a nice little run for her. Next, we had the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin taking on Jet Speed, which consists of Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, and the Patriarchy, Christian Cage and Nick Wayne for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin end up retaining their belts. But the big story coming out of this was what took place after the match. Nick Wayne, the Patriarchy, FTR, they end up beating down Christian Cage, and they're in the process of giving and delivering a concerto to Christian when Adam Copeland's music hits. He runs out, runs to the left, hypes up the crowd, runs to the right, hypes up the crowd, then walks down with Spike, which is his 2x4 that has nails sticking out of it, and then gets in the ring and kind of fends everybody off and makes the save for Christian Cage in the end. And his go F yourself was go find yourself. Go figure out who you are and what you want to do. We talked about this a little bit. We predicted this would happen. Christian Cage is now going to go away for a little bit, but he will come back, and we will then have basically Edge and Christian. But it'll be Cope and Christian. It'll be C squared, and they'll probably want to take out FTR initially. The Patriarchy is obviously going to get beat down a little bit. I think the big thing that was a little bit weird was it sounded as though on Dynamite, Kip Sabian is now kind of the brain trust of what is now being called the Matriarchy, with Mother Wayne and Nick Wayne there. Obviously, Nick Wayne is the prodigal son, the champion of the group, but it appears as though they have positioned Kip Sabian as being the brain trust and the one who is the cerebral assassin in that group. And it appears as though Mother Wayne holds a lot more power than she did prior when Christian Cage was in charge. What did you think of this angle, and what did you think of the way that they kind of sold this on Dynamite?
Look, in the end, I look at it and I say that Cope and Christian definitely can make money for the company. I like the fact that you can elevate Kip Sabian as well. I like the fact that the group, Nick Wayne's group as well, can get elevated by being involved in this. I thought it was a perfect swerve. It was one of those things where you know it was coming, but you wanted to see it. And when when Cope's music hit, everybody popped. They loved it. They understood what it meant. And I thought the line was perfect where you set up someone going away. Go find yourself, which means time to reflect. What did you do? What does it mean? And I think it's great. And you could even not have it take place where, Cope says, I found myself, but it's not with you. I want to be the world champion. I want to be the best. And we'll get back to this later. Keep teasing it maybe more if you want. But at the same token, Cope and Christian is something that I think when it does happen, people will be definitely excited. It'll create a lot of nostalgia.
Yeah, absolutely. It will definitely create a lot of nostalgia. Our next match, Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné for the AEW Women's title. Toni Storm ends up retaining her championship. I thought this was one of Mercedes Moné's best matches. I thought Toni Storm was so over the top, whether it was kissing Mercedes Moné or going muff diving in Mercedes Moné before she delivered a couple of moves. In the post-show press conference, she had a fantastic line where she thanked Mercedes Moné and said that her lips, both sets, have never tasted so good. Look, Toni Storm is doing fantastic work. I thought this was awesome. Mercedes Moné leaned into the creative control with her robe as she kind of came out to the arena. Overall, I thought this was absolutely spectacular. What did you think of this match? What did you think of Mercedes Moné leaning into all the trash that we've talked about her, more specifically me, not so much you? And what do you think of Toni Storm retaining? You had Mercedes Moné picked to retain this. I, out of spite, went with Toni Storm because I love what Toni Storm is doing. She's still getting her run, And I'm all here for it because I feel like she's one of the most interesting characters on AEW programming.
Yeah, and that's how you benefit from having a Mercedes Moné, is she can put someone over. And it just continues to build the legacy of Tony Storm. It's fine. I just think that Mercedes Moné is a worthwhile star. You can start to see a little bit of that. Okay, let's embrace some of the shit that's being talked about online. And I thought that she delivered in a match. That's the next step, is to, okay, now you're comfortable. Embrace what's going on, tell good stories, put people over. But most importantly, what we wanted was have a great match, great chemistry in the ring. These guys can wrestle. These ladies can put together a story that people liked. I thought the high spots were timed perfectly, and I just felt like you were invested in this match. And to see Tony Storm win, in the end, probably the right decision. And it's good for both of them because now Mercedes Moné has another purpose, and Tony Storm, her star, is even elevated further, which is great. That's the one thing we've always said on this show, is that stars are great, but you always got to keep elevating them. Like, you can't be the Miz where you get to the mountaintop and then you fall off and you become less than the pebbles on rocks. You know what I mean? You got to maintain that star status, and that's what WWE has done well. Roman Reigns has been a star for about 6-7 years now, cuz Seth Rollins has been a star for a decade, and you realize, okay, that you have the ability to make stars. That's not maybe the most difficult thing. The next most difficult thing is to keep a star shining bright and keep us interested. I'm interested in Tony Storm. I'm interested in Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, and you know, as you were talking, you said she put together a good match. I'll be honest with you, I think this is probably Mercedes Moné's best match since she's been in AEW. And that says a lot because she came in with a lot of accolades and she was talked about so highly. And she was given a huge contract. And it's been the one thing I think we've complained about the most is her in-ring work just has not been up to par, has not been up to snuff. And this was her first match where I felt like it really, really was. Next, we had Okada defeat Kenny Omega for the AEW Unified Championship. This was a bit of a surprise. Both of us had Omega winning this. Okada ends up beating Omega. I thought it was a good match. I feel like this match had a really difficult time living up to the living up to
the legacy.
Of everything that they had going on, because you had 4 matches prior that were absolutely crazy when they were in New Japan.
Yeah,
and Okada, this has been like D-level Okada. We haven't really had the good Okada in a long time, and I feel like this was probably the closest that you got to getting that.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where, did Okada like become like Americanized? He's like, I got the money. This is great. I'm going to do like 80% of the work. And it sucked because if I would have gone to Texas, it would have been to see one match, Okada Omega, because of the fact that it was hyped up. Basically, you guys, you and Kenny said, watch New Japan. These guys 4 years ago were like, you have to like, what the hell are we watching with these guys? This is the next level of wrestling. And unfortunately, the talk has been, and I agree, just watching it again, that, you know, I love going back on YouTube and watching Omega, Okada 1 and 2, 3 was great. You look at it and you say, man, it's the worst of the 5. And that sucks to say, because it's just, it has the feel of like Brett Shawn, that every match should be legendary, but it's good enough, did the job. I think the most important part was the legendary shot with Okada holding up the belt over Omega, and now you just got to kind of build on it for Okada, because now it's kind of been the beginning. Because remember, he's been playing a goof for the last year. Let's see now if he can kind of transition to become kind of that bigger star.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if they make him a little bit more serious now than he was before. You know, a lot of stuff with the whole bitch angle, but let's see if we can get a serious Okada out of this deal and get a guy who's giving us at least 4-star matches again. All of that led to our main event, which was absolutely crazy, absolutely frenetic. It was bloody, it was gory, and it was great. It was the ending that we all wanted, and I think there was a bit of a rejoice from everybody as Hangman Page ends up defeating Jon Moxley in a brutal Texas death match. This match, we've seen different run-ins from the Death Riders, but we also seen interference from guys like Bryan Danielson. Darby Allin came down from the rafters. Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland was the guy who really tilted this in Hangman's favor as he threw him the chain, which Hangman Page ended up using to choke out Jon Moxley for the victory. What did you think of this match? This match was everything we wanted and then more. This was a 6-hour pay-per-view, and sometimes when you get to the end of a 6-hour pay-per-view, you are burned out. I think this match kept you engaged and kept you involved, and like I said, this was everything that you had wanted.
Yeah, overbooked, and it feels so good. The way I watched it was the next day. I broke it up in parts. I watched Omega Okada separately, and then I watched the main event separately over the course of a couple days. And when I got to see it, I was like, all right, this is perfect. This is what they needed to do. Hangman won. The crowd was into it. And all the returns were pretty good, and everybody was really, really excited. I think everybody laughed because reportedly that WWE had sent some notices to Bryan Danielson about the yes chance, and he comes in a mask and does the yes chance. So it's a little bit of an FU to whatever WWE is trying to do with their licenses and their gimmicks and all that kind of fun stuff. But in the end, the right guy won. They set forth in the end, they told the story. Hey, the belt has been gone. Jon Moxley said, hey, I'm going to ruin something for you guys. And in the end, it was great because the fine details were met. They kept the plate of Bryan Danielson, which indicated that Moxley never looked at the belt. And when the moment happened and Hangman Page goes in the briefcase, grabs the belt, it's a moment. And it's a good moment for a good wrestler. And it's been crazy because when I have a vivid memory when the Indies happened, Kenny took me to a show where we got a picture with Cody Rhodes. A couple guys that you got to see just walk out with their bags. One of them was Hangman Page, and another was Young Bucks. They just walked to the parking lot, and you could just see the professional, workman-like nature of these performers. And to see what he became from an indie show, an ROH indie show, to what he is now, it's just wild to think about.
The messed up thing is when Hangman unveils the belt from the briefcase, it still has the old side plates on it. He never even changed the side plates. He took it away, he hid that belt, and he never broke it out. And look, that storyline sucked. Let's be honest. That storyline was absolutely brutal. But the one thing it did do is in the end, it delivered. Everything that he said he was going to do, he delivered. It was tough to get there. It was incredibly challenging for us to get there. And we were not happy campers with it. But when we finally got there, it delivered and it was good. And now it's on to Hangman, who gets to carry that belt and gets to do everything that we want Hangman to do. We want him to be the champion that we need for AEW. In the end, we go to calling the card. We both missed a lot here. This was a bit of a weird pay-per-view. I get the point in the end because of Tony Storm. I lead you by 1 now, 5-4. This then leads us into Dynamite, where I think the funniest thing and probably one of the best things on this show was Matt and Nick Jackson getting stripped of their EVP status. They showed up in an Uber instead of their limo. They had to bring in their own bags. They had to go down into a basement of an arena where they're basically changing in a closet that has a taped on note that has their name on it, and EVP gets crossed out in Sharpie marker. This then leads to them coming out to the ring where it's no longer, they don't have pyro. Their graphics are now Comic Sans and they're different fonts. It's just yellow writing. It looks like my daughter did it on Microsoft Paint. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. They're back in their old ring gear. They have basically been stripped all the way back down, and I thought this was comedic gold, and I think this will be an underlying theme going forward. What do you think of Matt and Nick basically being brought back down to the common man level?
You said it. It was funny all the way around. I like the venue. I know they're doing a residency now in Chicago. I just think it brings forth, just like the ballroom, the Hammerstein in New York. It has the feel of intimacy where the sound kind of encapsulates everybody. I just thought it was great. It's good to tell their story of okay, maybe we have to go back all the way down to the bottom and work our way back to the top. It's a good story.
Yeah, you know what? That is some symbiotic metaphors there, right? Like they had to walk all the way down to the bottom of a basement to get into their locker room, and it was legit. It was a closet. So just like going back to those indie days. We also had Thekla win a fatal four-way with the help of Julia and Sky Blue. It feels as though we now get a new dark, creepy girl faction. What do you think of this? Look, Thekla, I feel like is somebody that I really wanted to get behind early on. I thought they did probably their best job of bringing somebody new over by telling us a little bit about her and really teasing her for a couple of weeks. I don't know if I necessarily want to see her in a faction with Julia or Sky Blue. I really wanted you to build a new star out of her and not put her in a faction.
Yeah, because AEW, all everyone wrestling. My notes for Dynamite were there was a lot of multi-man matches. I was like, Jesus.
Yes.
I like singles wrestling as well on an equal playing field. It's like more factions, more groups. It's like everybody has their own. It's like everybody has a belt, everybody has a faction, and everybody has friends. It's like, what is this? We all get together, and it's like, well, if you're in AEW, you got to find some friends and become a faction. It's like, no, I do like some individuality, and you get that with Okada, Omega, but still, they're still involved in factions to the most to the degree of their involvement with other people, but they're standalone stars. But it's just too much, in my opinion. I'm in agreement with you. I didn't need to see that with Thekla.
Yeah, I felt like again missing a bit of an opportunity to really build
Yeah.
on some good work that you've already done, and somebody who legit could be a monster star if you really pushed her right. I really don't think AEW knows what to do with the dark and creepy girls. You go back to Abaddon, and you go back to like I thought the transformation for Julia has been fantastic, but there was never really any follow up after that. Same thing with her convincing Sky Blue to come to the dark side. Really, no follow up after that. To me, it just kind of feels like they get them to this macabre state and they don't know what to do with them, and that's a little bit unfortunate. Something I wanted to highlight real quick. We've talked a little bit about Toni Storm. I thought she cut a fantastic promo talking about her beating Mercedes Moné and then kind of setting up her and Athena. Again, very entertaining, slightly R-rated. Basically saying things like the thought that wants to wop, the tramp that wants to stamp, like just different alliterations and different rhyme time with different things, basically calling herself a hoe. I thought it was very, very funny. And again, I think Toni Storm's in all of her glory. So I just wanted to highlight that quickly.
No doubt.
But the one thing I do want to throw a red flag on, I don't understand how Hangman Page and Jon Moxley have the ability to wrestle after having that brutal ass match on Saturday night.
Exactly.
I felt like they needed to sell the brutality of that match
For sure.
and how bad it was.
Terrible decision. Yep. That was my note. I like it. I don't need to see the match at all. You have so many other things you could have highlighted. I didn't need to see that. MJF could have wrestled. You could have had Hurt Business, Bobby Lashley. You could have had so many other things go on. Tag team, highlighted more in the main event. Absolutely right. Hangman Page didn't need to wrestle on Wednesday night. That was my note.
Yep. I didn't need to see either one of these guys. I mean, Jon Moxley got choked out with a thick ass chain. There's no reason you should be in condition to come back and wrestle. Like you should have bruises around your neck. You should be banged up. And yet these guys competed in a multi-man match that to me did not make sense. You didn't have to do it. That was my big issue with Dynamite this week. What was your show of the week before we get to some news and notes?
Yeah, no doubt. I thought on the heels of what WWE was trying to do, I really liked what SmackDown did. You highlighted SummerSlam with the big guys, John Cena and Cody Rhodes. So I was really impressed with SmackDown.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought Raw was kind of a placeholder show. It was really held up by Roman Reigns. I thought Dynamite was good, but like you said, just a lot of multi-man and friend matches. And then I have to throw a flag on what was the main event. I felt like SmackDown really carried the week. You ready for some news and notes before we get out of here?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
All right, we got some long one here, so deal with me. I told you it was a big show. This thing has been jam-packed thus far today. Goldberg, not happy about his WWE coming to a close and was speaking about it following his match on Saturday night's main event. Goldberg spoke to Ariel Helwani on Ariel Helwani's show, where he admitted that he was a little pissed off about how things went down with his retirement match. He said, let's just say I'm pissed off at the way I went out. I put so much into it, and I don't feel the effort was reciprocated to put a stamp on what I accomplished. I'm not going to say I'm not ecstatic about the opportunity that I got. I was a WCW guy. I think it could have been done a little bit differently. That's all. I'm happy with my performance and the setting, but could it have been better? Absolutely. It could always have been better. There's about 100 things I could have done differently. I did 3 interviews in 6 months. They cut me off 30 seconds into my speech. You don't do that. When he was asked if he believes it was the call of WWE or NBC to cut his speech short, he said, I don't think it matters because it's live television. You can plan for it. That's all. I know it is what it is. That match went long, whatever it is. I just think it could have been a little bit classier prepared than it was. And that's my mild understatement. Goldberg opened up more on his speech being cut short, with him saying WWE were aware he was going to speak after the match, noting how WWE wouldn't have cut off John Cena or The Undertaker during their speeches. He added, 100%. I never heard I was going to speak for 28 seconds. I got the opportunity to speak for 28 seconds. It's not worth it to me. I'm not going to snivel over it by any means. I got the opportunity to have it for 28 seconds. Not many people get that. Everything throughout the years built up to the ultimate rib. I guess that was the ultimate rib. I'm not saying that it was done on purpose. I'm saying that it wasn't prepared for on purpose. They wouldn't do that to Taker, right? They're not going to do that for Cena. Cena's going around the world doing his retirement thing. Mine was just a World Heavyweight Championship match. To be honest with you, I'm going to catch hell for this. I don't care. I had World Heavyweight Championship matches all the time. That doesn't do anything for me. It does, but it makes it different than any angle in the end. Do something. Say something. It just felt for me. I'm not here to bitch and moan because I don't do that. I'm not complaining by any stretch of the imagination. You asked, I answered. He kind of felt like he was bitching and complaining the entire time. I don't know. So he's just not happy with how it all went out. And look, I think we both agree the whole preparation for it just wasn't good. It just felt rushed and thrown together. On Wednesday afternoon, Pat McAfee let us in on his reasoning behind stepping away from WWE. Speaking on the Pat McAfee show, Pat opened up more on his decision to take a break from WWE commentary. He said, I got real tired, man. I crashed. I hit a wall. I got some money in the bank in LA. I was on the East Coast for TST, and then I went down to Paris Island, and then I went to LA for Money in the Bank, and I could just feel it. I'm like, oh my God, my brain's not operating right now. I had talked to others that had maybe experienced mental exhaustion before, whatever they had it, and I talked to them, and I've been like, I'm staring down what you went through. Like, I knew this moment was coming. I knew it was going to happen at some point, and it happens to people. So I talked to the people about it happening and what they went through. And as Money in the Bank was happening, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I finally hit it. I never thought it was going to happen, but you add in my daughter, the Daily Show, the travel, and then also trying my best. I know wrestling fans don't think this, the wrestling community doesn't think this, but like, I was trying to put everybody over, like maximize effort, full, every time trying to put people over to the people that are watching. And it's like, I think that with travel, with me not getting back till 2, 3 a.m. on Monday nights, and then that being the beginning of our work week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I've got 12 hours left of being on air. And it's an honor to be a part of, but like, I stopped going to Monday Night Raw. So that took away 2 plane rides and 2 hours sleep nights a week from that schedule. And it was like a stack a couple of weeks. I felt like a human again. The expectation is McAfee is not going to be back at the desk for some time. College football is on the horizon, and he'll reprise his role on College Game Day. And at some point, we knew this was going to take place. We knew McAfee was going to get wore down. It's just too busy, too chaotic of a schedule. And now he has a family. He's got a daughter that he's got to try to see. I couldn't imagine doing that. There's no freaking way. I went away for a weekend, and I struggled being away from my daughter for a weekend. There's no way I could do what this man does every single day. It's absolutely bonkers. Now, AJ Styles, is he heading back to TNA? Styles is one of the names most closely associated with TNA throughout the promotion's history, having made his name during his time with the company and picked up 5 World Championships, 6 X Division Championships, 2 Television Championships, and 6 Tag Team Championships. During this week's TNA Impact, the last episode before Slammiversary this weekend, the show closed with a video that confirms Styles is planning on being at the pay-per-view. The video showed some brief highlights of Styles' TNA run, and then a wooden chest crate opened to reveal his ring entrance jacket inside before showing the Slammiversary logo on screen. It's unknown exactly what Styles will be doing at Slammiversary, but on WWE TV recently, he's been building to an Intercontinental Championship match against Dominic Mysterio that looks to be taking place at SummerSlam after being postponed for Night of Champions due to Mysterio's rib injury. So if you want to see AJ Styles back on TNA, you're going to want to tune into this weekend's Slammiversary. Check that out. That's going to do it for this week's news and notes. And that's going to put a wrap on what was a very long wrestling podcast with my man, the Doc.
Yeah, this is the AEW era of the podcast where we just go long and strong and give you the wrestling news, baby.
It's like our 6-hour podcast.
Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tell other people. Hey, interact. It was great this week to be able to weave in the Steiners into the news about Detroit Lions Tate Ratledge. I think people caught on. It was Rick Steiner barking, woof, 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 getting excited in the dog pound. It was pretty clear that the second round pick was about to sign when the contracts were starting to get doled out for the second rounder. So it was fun to weave in some fun. Make sure you engage, interact at Detroit Podcast. You get direct line to Adam and myself, and we love interacting with those that agree or disagree with what we're talking about. Let us know what you thought of AEW. Do you feel like they're going in the right direction? Do you love this completely different multi-man version of AEW? Let us know. We're very curious to see how you guys perceive it, because Adam and I see it one way. You guys may see it another. That's what makes it great to watch and engage in the world of professional wrestling. I can't wait to fire it up next week for the latest and greatest edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast.